Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fairy Tail 100 Years Quest, Chapter 96. When we last left our heroes, things started happening in the labyrinth. Natsu and Lucy were kind of caught by Haku, who quickly, in an attempt to make them as cute as possible, turned them into plush dolls, who still have some access to their magic, but also are dolls. Meanwhile, everyone else, or a lot of the rest of the cast, Urza and Gray, Wendy, Gagio, Carla, Lily, along with Kiria and Misaki of the Dark Dragon Slayer Knights, all encountered these dog monsters they had to fight. They're just sort of there, seemingly created by Dogramag's corpse or something. Haku has a plush version of these that he sicks on Natsu, Happy, Lucy, and then Celine knows to the Crow, whose name I always forget, that it looks like that two members of Fairy Tail are at least temporarily out, and so are two members of Diabolos. And we find out that Laxus is already taking care of Scullion and Mad Mole, and he's then encountered by Diabolos' own contender for the strongest, Kirin, the guy with the coffin on his back. And that's where we leave off, so let's jump right on into Chapter 96. Our cover picture here is Laxus in like a nice suit, and like carrying a bouquet, and he has what looks like a streak of blood on his cheek. The blurb there says, "A city at night and a bouquet of roses. That's what it takes to become a dandy man." There's not really any mention of the blood on his cheek, is there? Alright. But anyway, it's a nice Laxus pick, I will say. But we open where we left off, Chapter 96, Lightning and Atmosphere. With Laxus, we see Scullion and Mad Mole kind of smoking in the background. Laxus still sort of electrically charged, staring down Kirin. Kirin grins at him, reminded of his name. Diabolos, Dark Dragon Slayer Knights, Kirin. And Scullion calls, "Kirin-sama, be careful." And Mad Mole also, "He's powerful, like a monster cha." And Laxus just glares at him. And Kirin slips off his coffin. "You can count on me." And he drops it on the ground. Laxus looks at it kind of confused. And Kirin kind of sizes Laxus up. "Well, this is a problem. No way a guy your size can fit in this coffin." Okay, so his coffin is just like he puts his enemies in there. Alright. "Should I chop you into pieces and stuff him in?" "Nah, that's just gross." And Laxus taunts him, "There's no point worrying. Because the one going in that thing is you." And Kirin counters, "Me? My own coffin? Man, no one's thought of that before. You're one of a kind, aren't ya?" And he snaps his fingers, and they sort of like I'm guessing his powers are atmosphere themed, given the chapter title. Some like ball of air sort of appears below Laxus. Laxus looks at it and explodes, sends Laxus flying back. "What happened? That attack just now?" And we see Kirin has a whole bunch of more of these explosive air balls that he then throws at Laxus. Laxus takes the hit, and note, his magic's invisible, but he just lunges right at him. We see this like electrically charged hand, and he uses it actually as a projectile that he throws at Kirin. But Kirin sort of deflects the lightning, shocking Laxus. "What? My magic can compress and distort the atmosphere." Which is kind of bad for Laxus, given that he needs the atmosphere for his lightning to travel. And Kirin throws the lightning right back at Laxus. Laxus tanks it pretty well. Jumps right back up, goes for a fist. But he's sort of blocked from hitting Kirin. Does that atmosphere bit even mean you can't hit him with like a physical attack? He just sort of makes the air so dense you can't move through it, maybe? Is that what's going on with him? I don't know. But Laxus is just kind of stuck there. Can't really fight. Can't really go forward. Kirin taunts, That means no kind of attack can even scratch me." And then I think it uses the atmosphere to like slice Laxus up. Alright. Laxus coughs up blood. I don't know how anyone beats this guy, honestly. I mean, I'm sure there's some way that works, because this is Fairy Tail and they're not going to lose. But Laxus is getting his ass whooped. And Kirin tells him, "Every one of my opponents goes into the coffin." And Laxus sort of lies there for a sec, Scullion and Mad Mole seem to think he's down. Scullion says, as expected, Kirin-sama. And Mad Mole, we could not even do a thing against him. But Laxus gets back up, or struggles to get up. I get it. Your magic's really something. But you were full of hot air when you said attacks can't hit you. Okay. And Kirin looks at him confused. Laxus finishes standing. There's all kinds of stuff that electricity can pass through just fine. Like the ground! Oh, he attacks him through the ground. And it does hit him. Oh! And then Laxus then goes on for another physical attack, which I think he would try to avoid after seeing the ground is the only way to really hit him. And as he sort of lunges for a punch, Kirin hits him with Atmos Distortion. And we see Laxus sort of cut up again. Not quite sure what exactly happened there, but Laxus is beat up pretty badly. And then he's going back to that red lightning from the Wall Eat fight way back in Alvarez. And we see his blood mingling with the lightning, and my red lightning cuts through the atmosphere. What? And it does get a good punch in on Kirin. Megaton, red lightning! And Kirin takes the hit. I don't know if he's down yet. It'd be weird for him to be built up as contender for the strongest and be down in 2/3 of a chapter. Though he was it's hard to say that Kirin was built up when that name was first brought up last chapter. Anyway, Kirin takes the hit. He goes down. Scullion and Mad Mole react. It cannot be. Kirin-sama is... And Laxus stares as Kirin picks himself back up. What a surprise. To think Fairy Tail had a guy like you. It's true. If this keeps up, I really might wind up in my own coffin. And he just grins. He's ready for this fight. I like you. So I'll have to get a little serious with you. And we see he's powering up, ready to go. And Laxus feels the power. What's this magic power? It's just like Old Man Gildart's. Okay. That's interesting. Because Gildart's power was largely crush magic, right? Right, if I'm not mistaken? Let me do a quick search on what exactly his type of power was. Where would it... Yeah, crush. Which is not really related to atmosphere. Allows the user to break that with which they come into contact. So is it just more discussion of scale? Or is it is there a similarity between atmosphere and crush? Either way, we then cut back to Natsu, Lucy, Happy, running away from the plush dog. Natsu and Lucy are wah, kya! Happy is more focused on, it's a dog! Keep running! And they just keep on going. But Lucy realizes, of course, I can use Loki, right? Because her magic still works. It's just that Virgo didn't work because of the ground. So open, gate of the lion, Loki! And Loki pops up, also a plush doll. Hey there, Lucy. He's a plushie too! And Lucy tells him, your magic should be able to blind it, please. But Loki takes a look at it, and it doesn't have eyes. But it doesn't have any eyes. Kya! And now the quartet runs. Loki asks Natsu, can you beat that dog even without using fire? But Natsu tells him, even if I punch or kick it, it won't budge. And Loki tells him, wouldn't just burning it work? If it did, I would have burned it already. I see. So we just have to burn it without using Natsu's fire. Alright, what's the plan there? Alright, I've just thought of a plan. First, use Ares to stop it in its tracks. And Lucy summons Ares. And Ares comes out, also a plushie. I'm sorry for being a plushie. Fluffy Wuffy Wool Bomb! And she covers the dog up in wool. And the dog just sort of is trapped there. And Loki says, Natsu, grab onto it and raise your body temperature. Be careful not to burn yourself. Got it! And Natsu jumps onto it and I guess starts to raise his body pressure, his body temperature. Lucy asks, what are you going to do? And Loki tells her, Regulus will be enough. Its light will ignite it. But wouldn't that also ignite Natsu, who is there too? Either way, he shoots his little light beam at the wool. And Natsu holds it down. We see the smoke start to sort of rise up on its nose. Just sit still, you little... And it gets hotter and hotter And Loki calls, "Now, Natsu, let go!" And Natsu jumps right as the fire starts to really take off. Yeah! And all of a sudden, the dog is, encased in flames, starts to burn away. Happy cheers, "You did it!" And yeah, it kind of turns to ash. That's it. And Lucy and Happy are both really nervous now that Plushie really did burn up just like that. And Happy tells Natsu, "Do not blow on that fire." And Natsu sees a little orb that we learned was their core with the Misaki and Kirya scene last time. And he picks it up. What's this ball? With it not destroyed, could the dog regenerate from that? I don't know. But Lucy calls, "Thank you, Loki. Ares, call us anytime. You're still plushies, though." They all leave. It's now just Natsu, Lucy, and Happy again. Lucy turns to Natsu. "What do we do now?" And Natsu tells her, "Isn't it obvious? We find that punk-ass kid and teach him how scary grown-ups can be." And Lucy and Happy both tease, "Wait, you're a grown-up?" So yeah, we're seeing that's the end of that dog plot line. But now they have to go find Haku and somehow stop him, given that Natsu can't really do much until he's no longer a plush. I don't know what that's going to look like. But then we cut to Wendy and Lily, who are, I guess, have been beating up the dogs, and they're just sort of exhausted. Wendy asks, I wonder if everyone's going through the same thing. And Lily tells her, "Maybe we're the only ones on a strange route." And as they sort of sit there, Haku finds them. "I found my next prey." To be continued next time. Okay, so, pretty simple chapter this time. Just sort of, starting this Laxus Kirin fight, which could be fun. I like seeing Laxus go at it. One of my issues is just that, there's no emotional weight behind this fight, right? We don't know Kirin. We have no connection to Kirin. Laxus certainly has no connection to Kirin. He's just some guy for Laxus to punch. Unlike, if this arc, I think part of the problem is we're introduced to all these Diabolos characters here, and it sort of feels like the finale for Diabolos as a whole, right? After Celine's down, Diabolos will kind of crumble around them. And so Kirin at this point is just sort of some guy. And the way that same with Haku. And the same, as opposed to Kirya and Scullion and Madmoral and even Suzaku, who we have a good deal of history with, Kirin is kind of just some guy. And his powers aren't super interesting. They're just sort of, he attacks with the air, he controls the atmosphere. It's far from the most unique thing in the world. I'm always down for a Laxus fight, don't get me wrong, Laxus is a lot of fun. But Kirin is one of those guys who just seems kind of there. Haku also doesn't have a lot of personality, doesn't have a lot of emotional connection to the cast yet, but his powers are interesting. Turning people into a plush doll is sort of a neat concept. And so it sort of works. Even if I don't really care about Haku as a character, I'm curious how the gang is going to sort of overcome the sort of problems that Haku gives them. Though, I do expect that, my particular question was how will Natsu deal with Haku, given that he can't use any of his magic without killing himself. Now that Wendy and Lily have been caught by Haku, I imagine they're going to play a pretty big role in bringing him down, I think. But still, my point being, Kirin, the Laxus Kirin fight is fun for what it is, but there's not really any emotional connection to this fight at all, I think. Kirin's just some guy. Laxus is cool, of course. I'm not denying that. But Kirin is just sort of an enemy for Laxus to fight, I guess. I don't know. And I guess on some level you can say that about a lot of fairy tale villains, but there's something about the three new Dark Dragon Knights that just seem especially kind of flat to me. And I don't quite know what it is yet. And it's fun enough in the reading, but it's the sort of thing where you look back and you're like, okay, but I had fun reading the fight, but I don't really care about Kirin, and I don't and I 100% expect not Laxus to win this fight because Kirin is just some guy. I don't know. Not quite sure how to feel about all that. We do, though, have the fun Plush Dog sequence as Lucy and Loki put together the strategy to bring down the Plush Dog. It's a lot of fun. And now Natsu is gearing up for revenge, which, again, it gives some kind of, even just the tiniest scrap of emotional connection between Natsu and Haku, and Natsu wanting a bit of revenge. But now Haku has found Wendy and Lily, and I'm curious how all that's going to play out. Hoping it's going to be a lot of fun. Because again, even as the Laxus Kirin stuff is sort of, from an emotional standpoint, just kind of there, it's still a lot of fun, and I can't really complain too hard. So yeah, all in all, this Labyrinth arc is fun enough, but it's not like top tier. It's perfectly fine, perfectly fun, and sometimes that's all you really need. So yeah, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, do whatever makes you happy, And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!